Yo, what up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blood Splatter Chatter. Bonus blood here on a Sunday. I almost said in the midst of Horror Fest 2024, but I'll say post Horror Fest 2024. We just wrapped it up. And what we're going to do, I got Missing Link with me, my brother. What's cracking?
Yo. What's going on? Happy to be here. Horror Fest never really stops.
Never.
Never really truly does.
Never. What we plan on doing, Link and I, pretty much the way I started out 2024, I'm like, all right, this is the year I'm going to make sure I'm on top of all the new releases as they come out. And then we've mentioned it before, like as they keep dropping, I keep on hearing that sucks, it sucks, it sucks. And I let a backlog fill up of these horror movies that A, I haven't watched, and B, we haven't covered. So I figure you and I like doing these Sunday double features, and we've got what, 8 Sundays before the end of the year. I figure what we're going to try to do is like every other ish Sunday, you and I are going to get together and we're going to cover 2 new 2024 movies. And then at the end of the year, we'll get together and do our top 10 of the year to try to catch up on the movies. I feel like a lot came out recently, and it's still like the one that, I mean, we've mentioned it before, the one that you're hearing like, oh, The Substance, like an all-time banger. I haven't seen that one yet. People are freaking out about Terrifier 3. But there hasn't been that many that I think are like all-time greats, but the good list is starting to get better than the bad list. The more that I watch, there's more that's like, okay, it's starting to be a solid year. Yeah.
Man, I've been thinking about it, man. I know, I mentioned it to you a few times, but Strange Darling might be my favorite movie of the year. And that's tough to say right now, but
that's
like
awesome.
that really surprised me. And there's a lot of good shit that came out this year. So it's up there for me,
Right.
So I definitely think that's
let me see what I had put together just real quick. I didn't mention what we're actually going to cover today. We're going to do Don't Move and Azrael. Don't Move came out on Netflix. Azrael is the new Shudder original. And then the last minute addition, because I was like, fuck it. And I threw on Trap last night. I knew you had already seen it. So I'm like, whatever, I'll just throw this thing on. I ended up like being into it enough to definitely watch it, and I want to talk about it for sure. So, but before we get into those, I was just gonna, we don't even have to discuss these. This is more or less, I'm gonna list off like all these movies that we haven't covered from 2024. And then if you guys in the comments, you guys in the chat, you tell us like which ones we're gonna try and cover as many as possible before the year is over. But let us know if there's something you definitely want to see us cover. Then let us know in the chats or in the comments. But just to go through it, The First Omen and Immaculate, 2 religious horror things. That's gonna do. We'll probably do that in a good double feature. I saw The TV Glow. Infested is this French spider movie I keep meaning to get to. Daddy's Head, which sounds fucking disgusting, is a new one on Shudder. It's like a 4-skull Shudder, like a 4-star Shudder one. Which most things, if they're at all decent, you get 4 skulls on Shudder. That's just seems to be how it turns out. There's A Quiet Place Day 1, which we're probably going to pair up with Alien Romulus when it comes out in a few weeks. There's a thriller on Max that seems to be getting pretty good reviews called Caddo Lake. There's a South Korean one called Exhuma. Strange Darlings, you mentioned. Speak No Evil, that remake. I definitely want to cover that before the year's over. And The Substance, we mentioned. Terrifier 3, we'll definitely do in December. And Smile 2. Hopefully all those come out before the end of the year, and we can cover the majority of those. And we've already done Oddity, Long Legs, Late Night with the Devil, VHS Beyond, and I think that's it. And Abigail, and In a Violent Nature.
Yes, they're not bad. Yeah, you are right. Like it's definitely moving up. Even In a Violent Nature, that I don't know. I feel like I will need to rewatch that one.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What up, bro? But it's definitely going from like at least they're interesting ideas. Even if some of them have been kind of shit, it's like I can appreciate what they're going for at least.
Right.
So this is moving up to a very solid tier.
What up, Rogue? What up, Sal? I'm glad you guys were able to check out Rogue. I think he said he'd seen all these. And Sal, at least we know he's seen Azrael. I was really debating like where we should start with this. Part of me was like, oh, we didn't tell anybody we were doing Trap. Maybe we should do that at the end. But I'm kind of thinking Trap is the one that's been out the longest. It's the biggest name title. It's M. Night Shyamalan. It's got the Josh Hartnett in it. So I figure let's go ahead and kick it there because I feel like that's going to be the one that most people have seen. We will
Alright.
be spoiling this, and this is one. And it's out of all these, this is probably the biggest one that you wouldn't want spoiled. But I would say you probably already fucking know what. And in either way, you're going to learn in the movie pretty goddamn quick all about. So I'll say spoiler warning for Trap, and we'll just get into it, man. M. Night Shyamalan directed. He wrote it. He has his daughter, who I had her name. It's like Salika, her performer name. She's like a pop star
Now,
musician.
he probably no, and this he probably has more than, the one daughter, but or
Uh,
children, but who did she's not the one who directed that fairy
no,
movie. Okay.
no,
Okay.
yeah, that's a good point. The Watcher, I think it was
Yes,
called,
though,
or
yeah.
maybe just Watcher. Well, yeah, that's another one that came out this year that I'm like, oh, cool. M. Night Shyamalan's daughter. Let's check it out. And then I've just heard nothing that makes me want to check it out. Everything is
Yeah.
kind of negative, but I heard
Still
nothing
worth
good about Trap either, and it's still worth the watch. It's still worth the
true.
watch and worth the conversation. So, but anyway, his daughter, I was kind of looking into it, like how big are her songs, and just looking at her Spotify playlist, she only has one that has over 1 million views, and that's from this movie. Like all of her top songs are from this movie. So
Wow.
I don't have my ear to the ground very much, but like, had you heard of her? Do you know
No,
who the fuck she is?
I didn't know I knew, like, had heard, like, this was kinda like a vehicle for him to showcase his daughter's musical talents,
Right.
but I hadn't heard of her in the radio or anything. I didn't know she was that serious about it, you know? It's I kinda feel like an older person and stuff, back when my mom had to listen to, like, NSYNC and shit, but she understands they're classic though, but,
Right.
no, it was alright, the music for me,
Yeah.
but it was,
It was, dude. I was a DJ at a strip club for about 10 years. So I'm pretty familiar with like, I don't know, this low energy poppy
mm,
R&B, kind of like a slight EDM influence with the music behind it. It's just generic, but it's not bad. I would
right,
say for
yeah,
people doing what she's doing, it's like, oh yeah, she could make it. She could do it with with the rest of them that are making similar generic, slow, no
yeah.
energy shit.
She's got, people like Kid Cudi, clearly, he's got in this movie because he's friends with her, so maybe she's got some talent,
Was Kid Cudi was in the movie?
he was the dude with the blonde wig,
Oh my god, he was? No way, that's crazy. So we just talking about 2 Kid Cudi movies in consecutive weeks. We just talked about X, which he was in. I did not know that. That's
Yep.
funny. So
Yeah.
so he plays this like flamboyant gay guy in this, which yeah, I give him a lot of credit for
Yeah.
being a rapper and playing that role takes some balls. He don't give a fuck.
No, yeah, he's always been a artsy dude.
Mhm.
It's what I feel like he was in an anime adaptation. I'm mixing it up.
Hmm.
I'm not going off topic. But
Sal saying, Lady Raven. Yeah, Lady Raven is the performer's name in the movie, and I guess it's Salika or Saleka is how I'll pronounce it. Uh, so yeah.
for
Rogue saying Hartnett did great as usual. That's
oh
debatable.
yeah,
I don't know. He did something. We'll get
bro.
into it. Sal saying he gave up on Shyamalan movies a while ago. I could kind of get behind that, but then Split, like, and that's been a minute. It's been a while
Yeah,
since Split, but Split I think is like fucking awesome. Like Split's a great movie.
I I think like Shyamalan's problem is like he's capable of greatness clearly, but
Hmm.
it's he kind of throws everything at the wall sometimes, and like he
Hmm.
needs to like refrain from putting so much in, or like restrain himself a little bit, or not have so many yes men, because he just kind of does what he wants.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's in that process he will get some hits or some gold. But then there's some other shit there's some other things that are a little shaky. But I always Shyamalan as a director, I'll always check out some, like, he's him and Zack Snyder are directors for me where it's like I get it, why some people
hmm,
like, but I'll always check out whatever they do because they've got a unique vision that I appreciate, for better or
right.
for worse. But yeah, Split, like you said, that was a game changer. So, and even and I think I've said this before, but it's like up until this movie, my rewatch I liked it better, but up until this movie, I was like, why are people kind of giving these movies a hard time? Like old, I didn't think that was, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
I didn't think it
well,
was bad. I thought it was, and The Visit, which came out before Split, was good.
with the
None of
kids,
them are great. He hasn't had a
yeah,
great movie probably since The Sixth Sense, which is his
yeah,
problem. When you peak on your first movie, but Split's borderline great for me, and The
it's up
Visit is
there.
undeniably a solid horror movie for what it
Oh
was.
yeah,
I thought.
no, absolutely. That's that. That's up there with his first couple movies are all bangers. Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Signs.
Mhm.
There with that tier of his catalog. And then he's got some cool things. The Devil movie. I don't think he directed that. I think it was just he produced it. Do you know if he
I don't remember. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
saw where they're trapped on the elevator with the devil? Yeah. Oh, you haven't seen that?
No. Uh-uh.
We'll have to check that out.
Hmm.
Uh, that was the visit, the one with the grandchildren, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one. That's what I'm saying. Like he'll have some really cool things that it might not be a banger, but it's like that's definitely worth seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'd put Old just below that. People should and Knock at the Cabin Door or something.
Yeah,
Knock at the Cabin. It's another one. It was good, but it just I don't know. It's nothing special, but it is a unique original idea, which is something not everyone's bringing to the table in 2024.
exactly.
But to get into this one a little bit deeper, set up the premise for it. I had heard what I'd heard. It was like, oh, they're like all these big Taylor Swift's concert movie, and I think what Beyonce had one a couple years ago that are blowing up, and they're trying to kind of cash in on that, like the popularity of these concert movies. And going into it, that's what I had heard is like, oh, there's a ton of it being a concert. And I thought it was going to be even more of that where like there is a lot where like they're showing the music and stuff, but I thought those bits were going to be produced like a concert movie. And it's
I
not. You're
get it.
really just seeing the concert like from the perspective of Hartnett and his kid. But just to set up the premise, we have Josh Hartnett and he's his hair somehow fixed. The bedhead, he
The
fucking got
joke.
it down. He got the bedhead down after all these years. And he now has a teenage daughter. Maybe she told him he looked like a fucking idiot, and that's what fixed it. But he's taken her to this concert, and it's Lady Raven concert. It's this big ass deal. And what we find out like really quickly into the movie, and this is kind of one of my first big beefs with it, is within the first like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, we get this really, really clear clue that first of all, there's a search going on. The whole setup of this concert is to catch the serial killer. And then we see him checking his phone and he's got a hostage on his phone. So really quickly, we're like, oh, he is the killer. Like pretty much
Mhm.
confirmed it right there. And it's like, he's starting to hear him like, oh, you can't get out of this place. The venue is a trap. That's what the movie title is all about. So he's trying to figure out his way out of it. But I just think they should have made that more of a mystery for longer, don't you think? Like spread it out, and not let us know that it's him as quickly as they did.
See, but then it's like I can't remember. I know I watch trailers, but I feel like the trailer they kind of had to do that because the trailer I feel like they sold that in the trailer. Like they were ambiguous about it in the trailer, but I got the hint that
Yeah,
he was.
I'd
I
heard that.
you know
I'd listen. This is another thing I did. I listened to. I never do this, but I'd heard nothing good about this movie. So I ended up a podcast that I listened to covered it, and they go through it beat by beat. And I'm like, ah, fuck it, I'll just listen to it. So I had already known the
yeah.
whole movie before I went in. So
Okay.
for what that's worth, and I never ever do that, but I'm like, ah, fuck it, I did it. But they had mentioned where they pretty much tell you that they leave it a little bit more ambiguous, but yeah, you could pretty much put it together just from the trailer alone that he's the serial killer.
Yeah, and I feel like see, that's why it's an odd movie for me. It's because it's like they have to go. I don't know if there's like it's an interesting movie, man. Like I don't hate it, but it's just
Mhm.
like I don't know if I get what he was going for because it's
Yeah,
like you said, like it probably been more engaging had they not sold it to us or revealed so quickly that he's the guy. Like
totally.
this has been the setup. The problem I think is with the film a little bit is that we kind of know the reveal, And when we know that so early, there's got to be something more interesting to
Yeah.
top that. And I don't really think that ever happens, you
No.
know?
I didn't even really think of it like that, like, where's the not that you need it, but where's the Shyamalan twist? There's
Yeah,
nothing. They twist you in
yeah,
the first 20 minutes, and you're like, "Oh," like, what else is gonna don't get me wrong, here's the thing about the movie. I enjoy it the whole time, the whole way through, like, I'm
yeah,
entertained by the
yeah.
movie. I'm into it, but, like, I when I make my little notes, which I have quite a bit of notes on this one that I'm just, like, just making little comments along the way to myself that I find funny, but I like to put an emoji at the end of them, and my most used emoji in this is the shake my head, palm to the forehead emoji. Like, why are you doing this? At one point, they're like, he ends up stealing an earpiece because that's what it is. It's like a heist movie. There's all these different
Yes.
elements of the movie where he's sneaking around. He's like James fucking Bond.
Yeah, it is as kind of like an espionage thing, and
Mhm.
it's like he's definitely on his Bond shit, bro. Like he's like fucking, you know, to tossing the. This is just not what actually happened in the movie, but you know, he's like taking the light, doing MacGyver shit, stealing coat, starting a fire, you know, blowing up a car, walking away calmly, and it's like. I mean, I didn't really look at it like there are a lot of different elements going on in this movie, and that's what I like about Shyamalan. He's always trying something different.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. You know, I will say that I didn't this movie. I was like, what the? Like you said, your emoji. That was my expression, my reaction, energy throughout the first watch. But my second watch, I appreciated it a little bit more, but I still didn't exactly know what he was going for. Like there are some interesting elements. Josh Hartnett, he does some shit, like you said. I do think he kind of saves the movie, but there are some very questionable. I don't know.
Right. He's
They're
so
playing.
weird, like
Yeah.
and he's okay, the position that he's in, he's trying to be cool because he's around his kid, but he knows everything that's going on, he's freaking out, he's trying to get out of this place, but, like, his acting is very I don't know, he's, like, very weird, he's, like, all smiley, and he's
Hey,
delivering these
what?
lines very strange.
Yeah, yeah, like I don't know. I know parents are corny. Like maybe that was the whole. I don't know. Like I know kids think their parents are corny around that, like that,
Right,
but he's acting like that around everybody. You know, so
right,
I can't say it's like his daughter's interpretation of him.
exactly, like, when
He's
he's
a,
talking to the dude that's gonna get him the shirts.
yes.
It's another just a weird thing they do with the direction is, like, they point the camera right in their face, and they start talking at times right to the camera, and it's like,
Hey,
what are they going for?
I don't, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know, man. Like that was a moment that I kind of was just like, what are you trying to tell us, Shyamalan? Like I feel like there's something like you said, he's going for it that I'm not getting or not
Right.
seeing. Hey, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but this whole thing's a trap, man.
Yeah,
Like I don't know.
why would he know? Why would the FBI tell the guy selling shirts about their
Yeah,
fucking scheme? Like, what?
there's just so many. I don't know, man. I really, at the core, I think that because Shyamalan is such a gifted filmmaker, he can kind of just turn nothing into something,
Totally.
even if it's not the best, it's still something. But I think this was designed around his daughter's musical, showcasing his daughter's musical abilities or whatever.
Totally.
Um, because you know, if she's trying to shop for a record deal, this is the best way. Like, hey, look,
Mhm.
my music was in a movie. You
Totally.
know, like that's a
Dude, you know what I was thinking? Like, wouldn't you feel weird if, like I don't know, I'll put myself in that position. Like, "Oh, I've got a YouTube channel. I'm trying to make it on YouTube," right? To a degree. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make a
right.
successful show. Like, what if my dad made movies and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna put you in the movie and you get to pretend that you're like this big YouTuber. We'll have all these people gather around and like click on your video and hit the like button." It's like, what? I don't know. I would feel like so fake and weird about it. Let's all pretend that you made it. Like
Yeah,
there's some that
it,
must have been awkward. I hope that was
it's
awkward for her at times.
That's just for another topic, but like I said, it's definitely straddles the line of nepotism, you know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so I don't know. I will say though, there are moments where this movie gets really interesting. Like, kind of, it's weird because it's like I don't know if they could have maintained this energy earlier on in the movie, but kind of when the shit really hits the fan and Josh Hartnett's just kind of everyone knows about him.
Mhm.
That to me is kind of like the more interesting part. That which is towards the end. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, the Bond elements where it's espionage and he's like sneaking around, that shit's cool for what it was. But there was a lot of like corny dialogue interactions between like him talking to, like when he went on the roof, and he's talking upstairs.
Yeah.
And it's like, um, yeah, a mere coincidence. He just so happened to have the card he needed from the jacket he stole. But that,
Yeah.
that stuff was all right. But it was like towards the end when the Lady Ravens confronted him, and then we find out the wife bit. Like that was the most engaging
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Well, I thought,
Even
yeah, like,
at the end when we find, we won't get to it yet, but towards the end, I loved that reveal. It's like I wouldn't mind coming back to see Hartnett as this dude in some capacity.
yeah, yeah. I mean, at the end, I thought the same thing. I'm like, well, shit, I would watch it if they did another
Yeah,
one. But when
yeah,
he's looking into the camera, we're talking about Trap, by the way, for you guys just joining. We added it to the list a little bit late. Spoiler alert. But at the end, when he's looking at the camera and he's laughing, that's another moment where I'm like, what? Like, tone. Was I supposed to, like, was this tone carried throughout the rest of the movie that I just watched?
right.
Because I don't feel like it was. It was very odd.
No,
But I do agree, like when Lady Raven is in the bathroom and she's making phone calls and he's beating on the door, like when they're back at his house, it is cool. And like all the little the fake endings that the movie does, you keep
yes.
thinking it's over. They'll say he's the limo driver. It's like what? And then they arrest him at the end, and the cops just let him pick his daughter's bike up and screw with it. And he stole the spoke, and he's gonna use the spoke to break out now. It's like
Somehow nobody noticed that, all those eyes on him, bro. And it's like I kept looking back on that because I was like, he just picked it up, bro. How is he gonna kind of
yeah,
shimmy that off?
it's
And
insane.
let me ask you this: did
Mhm,
you think that the wife, because this was kind of a twist for me, was that spoiler, the wife is the one who set him up to be trapped,
mhm,
Uh, she thought he was like, she was getting suspicious of him because he kept bringing her gifts or it was something like that. And she followed him one day to this house she didn't know he had. And she ended up going inside once he left. And like, she left a ticket, ripped the ticket there and like called the police. And so, but how did he not know the police hit that house up is another question. Don't you check those houses often enough to know that
mm.
that's been raided? Um,
Right, well, they did say the only thing in there was a table and a chair. So maybe they just didn't fuck with it. They searched it. They found the ticket, which that in itself is silly. That was
yeah,
your whole like I figured I want the cops to know that my husband's the butcher, so I'll leave a concert ticket there that my daughter's going with to him
yeah,
or
put her in jeopardy. Why don't I? But no, and
it's so
I thought
silly.
the when they pulled up to the house, I thought like the mom was aware that he was the butcher or she was in on it, There was
Nice.
something about her acting initially that kind of she seemed too, very happy go lucky just like him. And even when, Lady Raven and them she's like having that confrontation in the living room and she's
Mhm.
telling which I thought was another odd thing, like telling, the son's like 8 years old. You're telling him about this brutal serial killer and his backstory, and I'm like, come on now, like,
Mhm.
sorry, you just met these people. What are we talking about right here? Like it was just odd placement of dialogue, but that I don't know. The wife's reaction kind of led me to believe that she was in on it. So when it was revealed that she was the one who set him up, I was like, oh shit, I
Mhm.
come in to be honest.
Right. You know what else they did that you just reminded me of is they did like Lady Raven tries to talk to him like she's his mother for a second. She does the Jason mother is
Yes.
speaking thing, which I'm gonna start like marking those down every time we see that in a horror movie. It's a trope that I didn't realize how often was revisited.
I almost feel like speaking of that trope, I almost feel like they did not. It was fucking. I would just kind of put in this one, to be honest, because it's like my first time watching this, I think I had to rewind it a few times because it's like there was the scene where he makes that stuff blow up in the lady's face, and he's watching her get taken away in the stretcher, and they
Mhm.
flash to like she's just on the stretcher and his mom's standing there. But initially, it's like I was so thrown off by that because I was like, I had to rewind. I was like, what? Where's what? Because I was like, why is that old lady? What happened to everybody? So I
Right.
rewinded to think, I miss anything? Well, there's no context to clue you in that he has mommy issues and that that's his mom. Like they show this scene and you don't find out that that's a thing until much later in the film.
Right.
Like,
I didn't even
so it's
notice
like,
it. I didn't even
no,
notice the mom there.
no, that's what I'm saying. It's such a
Hmm.
random throwaway scene. Like I was like, what the? I initially I caught it and I was like, what is that? And I rewound it and it's just he's staring at the girl in the stretcher, And the people, people putting her on the gurney and stuff, and then there's a scene where like it does a close up, then it shows him looking at it again, and it's just the girl, the victim on the stretcher, and the mom standing right there, and there's
Mm.
nobody else.
Hmm.
And it's like it's so random because you don't find out he has these mom issues until the end of the film. Like there's nothing at all throughout the rest of the film to clue you in that that's a trigger for him or that's something. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's an entertaining film, but
Well,
there's just so much going on. Like I said, Shyamalan just kind of throws everything at the wall sometimes, and it's like you need to tone it down a little bit, man.
right. Something along those lines is the OCD bit. I feel
Mm,
like they don't drop that. They just kind of they say something eventually in the
yeah,
movie, and then immediately he does something that's like, oh, it's because of the OCD. Which there's another bit where he takes his shirt off when he's talking to his wife. He just takes his shirt off to like show his pecs off to his wife. It's like, what is that for? And then
I was wondering too. I was like, do you have to get in your suit when you make a kill or something like
I
that?
heard
Like, what?
someone say the reason I brought it up, I heard someone say, like, "Is that because of the OCD?" Like, he knew he was about to kill her, he didn't wanna mess his shirt
Get
up, so he took his shirt off,
that makes
and he
sense.
messed his hair up in the bag. He's like, "I'm really gonna put all the
Yeah,
sex appeal out." What's funny is it had me thinking, like, we see him now because 'cause we've grown up with Josh Hartnett. I'm probably about the same age as him, you 4 or 5 years younger, and when he was, like, in The Faculty, he is the definition of cool youth. That's what
yes,
the youth looked like, and that's what cool looked like back in that era. And now to see him in this role, it's like just kind of sad, but it's
he's a dad,
perfect.
bro.
He's kind of the guy. Yeah, we're all him. We used to think we were cool, and now
Yeah,
we're 41-year-old fathers that are too fat.
I'm gonna bring back those the he what that look he was definition of like mid 90s
Oh,
kid, like the long
slacker.
sleeve underneath the short sleeve shirts with the baggy jeans. Like, yeah.
All right, let me just because I have him here and I can read him off easy enough through my list where every time I have that shake my head emoji. The one is I started to say it earlier when he's calling on the radio or he's hearing people talk on the radio and they're describing him. Like, we have a list of possible suspects here in the venue, blah, blah, blah. They name a bunch of different people. And like one of them has a small tattoo of a goat or a sheep on his arm. And he's got this teeny tiny tattoo. It's like, why not be like, one of them is about 6'4". He's the tallest person in the building. He's a white male with brown hair and a brown jacket. Why would you say this tiny little, like, he has a
Yeah.
freckle on his left baby toe? It's like, what the fuck?
Like I'm just like some of the details they're trying to look for. It's like, bro, you were at a concert. Like these are some of the
Exactly.
you gonna cavity search everybody because that's some of these
Right.
small. I don't know. It's just weird. Entertaining though.
Yeah.
I give Shyamalan credit because it's like he kind of did it backwards with the Split thing because Unbreakable and Split were solid and Glass was not that good, but I still enjoy it.
I still haven't seen it because I've just heard nothing but negativity.
I don't know what he was trying to. I don't know. I feel like he was trying to do the Marvel thing where it's like the first couple films weren't trying to do that at all. They just
Right.
happened.
This felt like it had some Marvel influence at times. Like,
Yes,
tonally.
I could see Hartnett like I kind of wondered that. I was like, is this part of the Shyamalan universe? Like, is he gonna interact with one
Oh,
character died?
Split and Bruce Willis.
Yeah,
That'd be crazy.
he's like a mastermind that escape. I don't know, escapist or some shit like that. Like he's so smart.
Hmm.
Like shit, you got those fucking the Jesse Eisenberg magician movies where they just they're all about escape and stuff.
Right.
But
All right. Well,
so
okay. We've went 30 minutes on this one.
okay,
It's already probably longer than we should have. I don't know. We'll rank these three at the end, but I think this might
okay.
be my least favorite. But I did not hate it. But
No, yeah,
I didn't love it either. But it probably doesn't deserve most of the hate that it gets. I'm gonna look up like its Rotten Tomato scores and all that. But you go ahead and give me your score,
no.
brother.
I think that was a very accurate description. It's worth watching, but there's some moments you're just kind of like, what's going on? But then at the same time, there's like some really interesting moments where it's like, I'd like to see this carried on further.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this movie, oddly enough, this and Don't Move kind of have like a similar ending where it's just like camera, well, not spoiler shit, but the camera essentially pans in on a person's face and they start
Right.
playing music, and it's like I want to see more from this world, you
Well,
know?
shit, Azrael ends the same way. I don't know if the camera pans in, but you're just
Yeah.
left there looking at that main character. It's a 5.9 on IMDb, a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 71% Google user rating. So
That's
not
about
great,
right.
not great, but not dog shit. But
Yeah.
what are you giving it out of 5? You guys in the chat, we have a 1.5 from my man Rogue Collecting.
I was saying once. You know what? I feel that 1.5. I was like, this is what's going on, Shyamalan. But I will say, I'll give this. I will give this a 2.5 upon my rewatch. There's there's something there, man, but it's just like sometimes I don't know, like I don't maybe I'm not getting maybe he's not executing what he's going for,
Right.
but it's it's interesting. It's an interesting movie. You know, that could be good or bad, but it has its entertaining moments, but then there's other times it's just like what is going on? Like you said, this is like
Right.
really
But
you're actually
I'll give it a 2.5 too, but part of that is I enjoy this. Like, what the fuck are you doing? This is so stupid. Like I was having fun being like, "Oh my god, this is the silly things I was hearing about." But all of them are kind of fun. And they're all in the
yes.
spirit of fun and just like kind of cheap entertainment. But it part of me does feel like he's like, "All right, my one daughter, she wants to be a pop singer. You want to be in the movie?" And then I feel like he was like, "Hey, do you want to just write this fucking thing too?" Because there's parts of it at the end that it's like you're just tacking weird shit after weird shit with nothing to it. And it's like I like what you said. I feel the 1.5. I totally get that. It might deserve that. That might be more accurate. But I did enjoy it. It was an easy watch, and it was even watching. I was like, I think my wife would enjoy this movie because she's not
There's
super critical of stuff, and she'd just be there for the entertainment value. I could see
yeah.
people enjoying it.
Like you said, it's this is a fun film. Like you know, you know, sometimes we've been so spoiled because it's like we've all seen true shit. You know, like
Right.
this is not true shit. It's just we're always gonna be expecting like a sixth sense from him in a sense, and and I guess that's on us to kind of like. I mean, this is nowhere near that in any way though. This
Right.
is still objectively
Like,
worse than that. But still, there's an element. This is a fun film, and
mhm.
you know. I I was one of those people who only wanted to see it because of Josh Hartnett, to be honest.
Right.
I was like,
Well,
"Yeah,
I was that's part of it too. I think there's part of us, but you're expected Shyamalan to be more like Shyamalan and give you the twist and all that.
yes."
You're expected Hartnett to be cool.
To
And
be edge, yes.
he's playing
Yeah.
this doofy
Mm.
kind of guy that is just like an odd role for him. But
That is very true. This is because in everything he does, he's always like the cool guy, bro, like Mr. the quiet type. And this one, he's very corny dad. He's giving
yeah, he's
very
dishing out dad jokes and shit.
yes,
It's so corny. But he does a decent job. It's just fucking weird. But all right,
yeah,
a 2.5 from
yes,
you, a
sir.
2.5 from me, and a 1.5 from Rogue Collecting. Let us talk now about Don't Move, man. This one produced by Sam Raimi was the first thing I noticed. I was like, ooh, produced by Sam Raimi. He produced Don't Breathe. So I think Don't Breathe, Don't Move. And there's some similarities in this. It was
Yeah,
directed by a duo, Adam Schindler and Brian Netto, who looked into him just a little bit. And they haven't done a whole hell of a lot, but most of what they have done seems to be in the horror genre. And they're like two lifelong buddies that grew up with each other, and at least one of them, maybe both of them, but the Schindler, he directed an episode of this thing. What was it called? Got it right here. 50 States of Fright, which is an anthology horror series produced by Sam Raimi. So I have to
yeah.
assume Sam Raimi saw that, he liked what he did for his show. Again, 50 States of Fright, which I guess what that show is, they go around each state and they find urban legends that connect to that state, and then they make episodes based on that urban legend,
I
one from each
think
state.
that I've seen that on Hulu, maybe, because there was one that it took place in like New Orleans, and I was like really confused about it, and I was
Yeah.
this was before I started becoming a horror aficionado. This was like maybe like 3 4 years ago.
Hmm.
I think around the pandemic, but I think it had a few seasons, like
Yeah.
maybe three, 4 seasons, something like that.
Yeah. It's on Roku original
Roku.
right now, but who knows where it was? Oh, Quibi, which I've heard of that, but I don't know. I've never used Quibi.
I'm gonna
But
check it out.
anyway, what
Quibi.
this one is basically another really simple premise where we have this woman, her son died in an accident recently. I get the feeling it was semi recent, where he
Mhm.
fell off this cliff to his death. And now she's went there sometime not too distant past after that, if that's the way to say that. Shortly after that accident, she goes back to the site of the accident, and then she's about to commit suicide and jump off the cliff. This dude comes up, played by, because he's really good. Let's get his name. Played by
American Horror Story, dude.
Finn Whitrock, yeah, who's a regular on American Horror Story. She's played by Kelsey Asbill, who I haven't seen anything that she's done,
Same.
but I think he's pretty terrific in the movie, and she has less to do. But more or less, he talks to her for a minute. He doesn't like try to talk her out of killing herself, but in a way, he kind of does talk her out of killing herself. He leaves, she follows him, and then when they get down to her car or their cars, he walks up and he tases her and he sticks her with this thing that he says is going to make her not be able to move for the next hour. And it was kind of cool. Like when he says that, if you check the time that's left in the movie, there's exactly an hour left. So you're like, oh, okay,
No
she's not
shit.
moving for the rest of this movie, which is more or less she does end up moving a little bit and talking a little bit, but she can't speak, she can't move mostly for the rest of the movie. And I thought it was a great setup, like a really great set, super engaging right off the bat. I'm like, oh, this is going to be an entertaining movie. And like I said, an hour left, you're like, now she can't move. Our main character can't move. Like, what the fuck are they going to do? I feel like they did a really good job with it. I feel like
Yes.
it's not like a typical horror movie, but
Hmm.
it's a suspense thriller, and it really does a great job of holding that suspense. It's under an hour and a half. All these are short. I think
Yeah.
Azrael was like an hour and 25 minutes, but I thought it was really entertaining with some good performances and just fun. Had some cool camera like work. There wasn't like a ton of great shots, but they were doing like a lot of like putting the camera on the rear view mirror and put it on the canoe at
Cool
one
perspective.
point. There was a lot of cool perspectives for the camera work, but nothing like overly like it didn't look amazing. It's shot at like noon. I hate when movies are shot right in the middle of the day. There's just like the lighting's never going to look good. But I thought it was cool. What I'm really curious what you thought of this one.
No, I gotta agree. I thought and I always I Netflix. I realize are up in the ante with. There's something about Netflix films that always kind of feel hollow. Like
Yeah,
even if you
yeah.
look at some of their biggest things, like I love the Extraction movies with Chris Hemsworth, but at the end of the day, there's really no story there. It's just a setup of cool ass action scenes. The Gray Man was the Russo brothers and Ryan Gosling, who I love Ryan Gosling.
Mm-hmm.
I love the
He's got
Russo brothers.
he's goddamn Ken, man. I mean, you gotta love
Yeah,
him.
come on now. But that even that movie, there's something, and that's got Chris Evans in it too. And there's something about that that's just seems it's cool, but there's nothing really there in a lot of Netflix movies. And I feel like they're starting to be on an uptick and change that because Rebel Ridge was actually really good. That came out like last month, maybe 2 months
Yeah,
ago.
I was tempted to check that out.
Worth it, worth
Hmm.
it. But this I think is in the same vein of that. Like I noticed that with a lot of Netflix movies, I looked into this too, that a lot of their self-produced content is that they like to have a lot of bland shots. Like they don't want their creatives to go for these interesting
Hmm.
camera work because it doesn't translate well because they keep in mind that a lot of people watch this content on their phones. So it's like when you've got these epic things going on through a small screen, it can kind of lose interest and they want people glued to these screens. So it's like the more basic it is, the easier it is to retain people's attention. So a lot
Interesting.
of Netflix content does not have like they have a lot of basic shots because of that. But I think they work well with this movie. Like it's it's not basic in this movie, but I think they're utilizing within the constraints that they're in, the filmmakers, like
Mm-hmm.
because there's like when the camera's like up against the rear view mirror and you're like looking at her pressed up against the window or something. There's a lot of perspectives that kind of make sense in this film.
Right.
Um, and the setup is cool, like it reminded me of Strange Darling. So I guess that's a good. I love that movie. There's that whole cat and mouse thing. It's not
Mm-hmm.
the same, but it's definitely done with a different twist here. And the performances. I was really the only dude who's a name is the American Horror Story dude. Like the only one
Yeah.
I've. and something beyond this. But I gotta say, like all the little minor performances from the cast was
Yeah.
actually
The old man's terrific. Moray Treadwell.
Maury Treadwell. I like his name.
Yeah, he does have a
That's
cool name.
interesting.
I guess he's in Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest.
No
May-
shit.
Maybe a pirate. Looks like a possible pirate.
But no, I think this is definitely it's a fun time. Like I think that's cool how it worked out. I think all three of these films are kind of like they're just a fun time. Like they're gonna
Yeah,
keep you engaged.
totally. I'd say all of them worth a watch. All of them will be forgotten in 5 years. You know what I mean? Like none of these are going to be movies people are talking about in the future.
But it's something, it's like something engaging, that's sometimes that's hard to come. It's truly they're truly entertaining, and that could be a little hard to come by in
Totally.
this day and age with this oversaturation of content.
And super quick. Just like
Yeah.
where they take each scene. Like it just builds super organically and super easily for I don't know anybody that hasn't watched it, like where they go from there. Like after when she's paralyzed, an old man finds her. So he
Hmm.
picks her up in a wheelbarrow and he wheels her into his house, and then dude shows up because the woman ends up escaping from the guy. So they get separated. And then the dude shows up and he's like, we were in a car accident, and my wife, she's catatonic, she can't move. And the guy is like, so you've got this 10-15 minutes where the guy is interviewing him and kind of trying to figure out, like, do I trust this guy? And I thought it was
Hmm.
great suspense. And where they go with the fire, he ends up fucking leaving
Bro,
and burning the house and lighting it on fire, and she's left there and she's tapping her finger. Like I thought that was like fucking great suspense. One of the like
no, it was
best
because it's like,
suspense
yo, it's
moments.
like, what is she gonna do? Like she's in
Yeah,
between a rock and a you're gonna sit there and be burned. You're gonna take your chances with the psycho who's trying to kill you anyways. Like at least you're gonna buy
right.
yourself time. Like
This is
that
great
was a
dynamic.
yes, yeah. Oh, bro, what really fucked me up? Even though well, like the old, I mean, I guess he was kind of apprehensive because he didn't know how to play. It was when he like said, "Yeah, I'll let me get you something," and then he just pops up in behind him in the house.
Yeah, that was
I'm
good.
like, what the fuck? Yeah, that, and he's like, "I told you to wait outside." He's like, "Oh, I just bumped my head."
Yeah.
But that scene between those two, where he's like you said, where he's interviewing him, trying to peg this guy, like, is he on the level? Um, it was, it's like there's a lot of ups and downs in this movie. You're like, oh shit, how's this gonna play out? Which I
Mhm.
appreciate it, and that was one of the highlights.
Totally. And then the guy's wife calls and says, or daughter calls, hey, we're gonna come up to the cabin for the week. So we know his wife's gonna come and get involved in it. It was like, now that's a good example of as soon as that happens. Now that I know more about film, I'll look back and this is like a Hitchcock thing where you're
Mhm.
playing with your alliances. Where are you aligned with? And like there's movies where I'll just use this one obviously as the example. We have the kidnapper. We're not on his side. He's a piece of shit. But then
Right.
all of a sudden there'll be moments where it's like, oh no, he's gonna get caught. And I'm just instantly like aligned with him. I was
It's like
thinking of it as like you're watching like a basketball game or a football game that you don't give a shit about, and it's like you're just rooting for the team that's down the whole time. Like as soon as
Yes.
they take the lead, now I'm rooting for them. That's how
Yeah.
I am with these movies. It's just like I don't know. I switch my alliances every couple minutes if I have to. But I feel like
No.
that's the intent of the filmmaker too.
Yes. Yeah. That's what you got on the money. I think that was they wanted you to kind of be like, you want her to get out of it, but at the same time, it's like you want to see if he's gonna succeed at this. I wish they kind of, and once again, it's Netflix films, but that's maybe an element I wish they would kind of explore more was his family dynamic. Because we only got the
Mhm.
phone call, and it's like I don't know. I mean, I know there are serial killers out there who definitely probably do that shit,
Right.
where they love their family but are just
Mhm.
complete pieces of shit. But I don't know, that added like a layer. Like, did he had issue? Oh no, what was his trauma thing? Was he
What
got in
was
the car accident?
his girlfriend died. Here's one thing I thought was kind of interesting about it, because in a lot of ways it's like she can't speak. So
Right.
it's just like Azrael. Like she can't
Yeah.
speak. They don't speak in that movie. So there's something thematically there, but it's like she doesn't want to talk about what happened. He says to her, like, what happened? And she doesn't want to talk about it. And then he says, I don't normally talk about it either. So he says something at one point, like he doesn't want to talk about his trauma. She mentions that. And then when he brings up something to the old man, like, what happened with your wife? He's like, I don't talk about it. I don't like to talk about it. So that's clearly like some running thing about not talking about your trauma, which is probably what the woman needed to do in the first place. Her husband's still alive. Maybe they weren't talking about the incident enough, and that was the whole message behind the whole thing. But there's something there with not sharing your feelings or something.
No, yeah, absolutely. I didn't peep that. I don't know, man. There's an maybe it's because he's just a great actor. Have you seen him in American Horror Story?
Yeah, but I barely remember him. He was in the one with the clown. He's like this rich douchebag, if I remember correctly, but I don't really remember it well.
Yeah, yeah. He does play. He's usually playing those very douchey characters, which I think that's why it works so well in this. But
Yeah,
what
he's got
for
a
some,
douche face. He's got resting douche face.
he does, he does. He looks like a pompous prick. But there was he said when what was it? He said when he said they got in the car accident and his girlfriend was dying. Now this was something I was confused about. Did he her because she was dying
Hmm.
anyways? Like he
Oh, I don't
because
know.
he said, "What did she say to you?" The and she said she said thank you. You know, like
Hmm.
that. I don't know. I was just that was a weird moment. I was like, because he said he felt like he was God or he was closer to God. He wanted to be closer to God. And in that moment, he realized he was God. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I think you might be right. I vaguely remember that. This was the first one I watched, and I didn't get a chance to watch it
Same.
twice. How the way it ends though, actually having a hard time remembering exactly how it ends. She doesn't kill him, or are we kind of left to believe she's like standing over him with the potential to either kill him or let him die? Like, do we see what happens? I can't remember.
So she ends up getting, they go on the boat and whatever. She gets a gun, pops him. He ends up swimming to shore, and so she stand. I had to go. I rewound that part too because I was a little confused. Because I was like, initially I thought she kind of like. I guess I don't think I was paying attention because I was like, did she kill him? So I rewound it. So she stands over him, and he's
Mhm.
just coughing up blood, and she just starts walking away. But they don't. She doesn't walk away too far before she stops, and that's when the camera because he's like as she's walking away she kind of steps over him and he's like looking at up as she's walking away and the camera stops and pans on her face and it starts playing the music and cuts as it kind of starts zooming in on her face.
Hmm.
So it's like he the movie left open the possibility of him coming back because I was like, all right, so we didn't see him die.
Mhm.
The rules of movies, if we don't see it happen, it really it's hasn't happened yet. And I was like, okay, so if we say we open up with a sequel, she walks off, he's still bleeding to death. She happens to get a hitchhiker, a ride, or something, whatever. And someone comes along the trail or whatever, someone's in a boat, sees him, and he is saved just in the right amount of
Hmm.
time. Maybe, maybe we don't continue with her, but he's still like the
He'd
protagonist.
be the one you'd want to keep if you're
Yeah.
going to make a franchise out of this. Yeah.
Yeah, and see what he goes and does next. We will learn more about his family, the family dynamic and stuff like that.
Hmm.
More about his past. But no, we don't see him die. So I would be. It was kind of like that's why I was like, it's kind of like Trap in a sense, where it's like they left it open to explore this world further.
Right. Just in case. Just
Yeah,
I don't think they'll revisit Trap because it didn't do as well, but I bet it made a shitload of money. So who fuck that's the thing about Shyamalan. Even the movies that aren't great usually make a bunch of money. Like he made like $400 billion
that's true.
on Last Airbender. That's got like a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. So he could pull that off.
Did he?
Yeah, they made a bunch of
Wow.
money. Um so yeah, so what was I don't know. Overall, I would say this was my favorite of the three, the most easily recommendable out of all of them. I would recommend all three of these movies to certain people, but I think Don't Move is the best crowd
Yes.
pleaser. It's the one that has the least clear issues. But like what you were saying, this is less hollow feeling than most Netflix movies. But like compare this to like Don't Breathe and Don't Move, and it is like there's a step down. It's more hollow than that. It's less intricate,
Yeah.
less interesting, not as well shot, just not as good and
Yeah.
across the board, but really good. Like I
Yeah.
definitely enjoyed the shit out of this movie. But
I
what are you gonna?
I rate it rating.
Yeah, go ahead and rate it, brother.
I would give this one. I'll give this one. You know what? Considering that it is a Netflix film that really just kept me, I was like, this is if truly, yeah. I think all these were at the great length, the hour and a half, and it's like
Mhm.
I didn't even notice that it's timed within, like he said, you have an hour, and that's when
Yeah.
it's starting. So that's really cool. I'll give this one a 4, man.
Oh yeah.
It's especially for the no name actors or actors I didn't recognize. I not that you always need big name
Mhm.
actors in roles, but I don't know. I think this was it's not like you said. It's definitely you definitely feel the contrast between this and something like Don't Breathe. But this is, like I said, a step in the right direction for something like Netflix films,
Right,
where
right.
they always kind of feel hollow. There's something there with this one. It's not completely felt out, I guess, but there is something there for them to do a sequel, and I had a good time watching this.
Right.
Whereas some Netflix films, I'm like, what?
I
Jesus Christ, when is this? I love my man Zack Snyder, but those new movies he did, my man, I was checking the time. But
right.
this one, those are obviously longer. But no, this is a great film. I think you'll definitely be engaged from start to finish with this one. It's fun. I think you said it perfectly. You're not going to be talking about this few months from now, but it's something to put on. Something like, let me
Right.
watch something good, be entertained.
Right, and it stayed on the top of Netflix, it's like the number 1 movie on Netflix for like, since it came out. I didn't check in the last couple days,
Respect.
but yeah,
Shout
it's been
out.
doing good
Yeah.
on there. Oh, we got a couple comments here. Sorry, I've been neglecting you guys just a little bit. Sal said there was a line where he said he felt like God when he was able to paralyze others. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
fucking cold. I do remember that. Sal also says, reminded me of the whole Dr. Death incident where the neurosurgeon would intentionally paralyze his parents or patients or parents. Was that Dr. Death? Was that Kevorkian that did that? Or
That's
was that another?
fun.
There's a couple. There was a Dr. Death Kevorkian where it was like patients, I believe, they were asking to be killed, and he was
Yeah.
killing them. Euthanasia type of thing, which
Mm.
isn't about the young people in Asia. News to me. I always thought it was. I really did. But I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna go just below that, a 3.75. But there's
Yeah.
nothing I can say like, oh, if they would have done this, it just would have. It's just this movie had like a limit of how great
Yes.
it could be based
Yeah.
on what it was and what the characters were. You remember like in Don't Breathe, there was some little bit with, again, she had a son. She's trying to get her son to California. There's this butterfly thing, right? Where she had some connection, some moment with a butterfly that kept coming back. And with this, it's the 1, 2. It's like this little counting thing that she
Yeah.
did with her son that just felt like a really similar plot mechanic. Nothing negative, but just like, okay, let's add that little thing in here. And Sammy Raimi's like, oh, I know how to do it. Just put you need a little bit of this in there. But it was good. I really enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend it to anyone. Sal gives it a 3.75. Ro give it a 3.5. Good. So
I'm not gonna
solid
lie,
scores.
that was my original score, guys. But the conversation, the fact
Right.
that I did, sometimes I'm talking about, I was like, yeah, I respect it, but think 3.75 is definitely the more accurate score. Like
Right.
I'm just being uh
Okay. Dr. Death is a TV series on Peacock. Okay. All right.
uh,
Interesting. There's another
I gotta check
there's
Peacock, man. They got a nice
they
few
just
orders.
dropped one like a couple weeks ago that looked interesting to me. Some new series. I can't think of the name, but if you guys know in the comments,
Was it
let me know what the fuck I'm talking about. I feel like there's like a small town, blah blah blah. People wearing gas masks and shit.
huh?
I can't remember what
And I
what
love
the fuck it was. I
small
remember it
town.
looking good though. It looked like something interesting. Either that or
It's
they
just
were just
interesting.
promoting the shit out of it. Yeah, it was like a new show on Peacock. But all right, let us dive in now to our final movie of this Sunday triple feature. This one, who was it directed by? I think it was his name is
E-
E.L. Katz,
yes.
spelled with a K. And there's a pretty big names tied to each one of these projects. We had with Trap, we got obviously Hartnett and Shyamalan. With Don't Move, produced by Sam Raimi. And this one, instantly, I was like, oh shit, Samara Weaving. Samara Weaving, for people that don't know, she's the woman from Ready or Not. She was in the opening scene of Scream 6, and she starred in The Babysitter, the Netflix original, I think from 2017. She was the babysitter. I mean, I'm sure she's done some other things, but not enough. Not
Yes.
enough things. Like, why is she not a household name? Like, it really makes
I
me
don't know.
wonder, does she not play the Hollywood game or something? Because she's one of the best looking girls in Hollywood. She's one of the most charismatic actors. She's got all the the facial expressions you could
Yeah.
ever want for comedy, drama, fucking everything. Horror.
Yeah.
She had the best scream in horror history, which we don't get to hear in this movie because she's fucking mute. But she's, I don't know, she's the shit, I think, right?
No, no, yeah, I absolutely love Samara Weaving. There's a few things I've seen because I was going over filmography last night. I was like, oh shit, she was in this. There's this movie called Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. That
A movie?
it's a drama, but it's really good. It's got a great cast, and she was in that for a brief second. And I was like, oh man, she was in that movie with oddly enough, you know how we might like to make the joke that she kind of is like Margot Robbie's sister. Her and
Oh
Margot,
yeah.
they were in a movie together. I think it was like 2 years ago or last year. It was this movie called Babylon with Brad Pitt. Haven't seen it,
Hmm.
but I didn't know she was in it. Samara Weaving was in it until I was looking at her filmography. So I was like, I got to go check that out to see if they're on screen together. Samara Weaving and Margot Robbie. Would love to see it.
Right. Me too.
But no, yeah, I think that the first time I took notice of her was The Babysitter, and I actually enjoy those. They're which
Mhm.
is because they came out long before this uptake in quality from Netflix. But I don't know, maybe they were. So I feel like sometimes Netflix will buy films that might have
Mhm.
we were going to go to a theatrical release. And I feel like those could have maybe the first one was going to go to theatrical release, probably not. But I enjoy those first two babysitters, oddly enough.
I haven't seen the second one, but it's very similar where it's like, oh no, that's good, but it's nothing, nothing. So I would say The Ritual, as far as Netflix
Ooh,
originals, is that
yes,
maybe the best thing that they've ever done. I mean, obviously there's TV shows like Stranger Things and shit, but I'm trying to think. Bird Box, someone mentioned that earlier,
that was a
which
solid one.
isn't straight horror, but I remember really liking that when it came
Yeah.
out. Surprised to hear that some people really didn't like it. It's a bit of a divisive movie, but I remember it being really good.
I think there was something. I remember it's because they were trying to compare it. That there's something similar that came out around that time. I
Oh,
don't
was
know.
it A Quiet Place? Maybe.
Yes, I think because yes, there was a sensory thing, and people were like, Quiet Place was a great movie, but no, obviously those are two. It's not an alien invasion movie. They're both sensory movies to an extent,
Right.
but Bird Box was different.
Which is
No,
which
Bird
is
Box.
what this one is. This one has that. I immediately thought of A Quiet Place, like
Yeah.
where no one can speak in this. It's like, well, I'll set up the premise real quick. It opens up and it tells us that this is set in a world that takes place many years after the rapture, right? If for whatever reason you don't know, in biblical in the Bible, right? The rapture is at one point all of the good people on the earth that love God, all the God fearing people get sucked up, right? And in this version of it, everybody that wasn't taken up to heaven is left on earth. And then there's demons. Like, I guess in the Bible, it says demons will come to earth and influence the nations. That's like the quote from the Bible. And what this is in this world, it's like a post-apocalyptic world where the
Mhm.
demons are basically zombies, right? Would you say that this is a zombie movie in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I actually absolutely love the look of. I think that I looked out there. They call them. I don't. You never hear it in the movie, but someone referred to them as like the burned ones or
The
the
burned
charred ones.
ones.
Okay, and
Badass.
love the look of these guys. Like they reminded me of like zombies mixed with like the Descent creatures.
Or like like demons. Like
Demon,
they To
yes,
me, I was getting the idea that these were people that spent time in hell and are now
yeah,
demons. Their
roaming the
bodies
earth.
all burned up, but they'll chew you up and rip you apart like a zombie movie, which
Mhm.
was I thought that aspect of it, like the zombies were badass, like super
No,
super
yeah.
badass.
Oh, you know what? They were almost like I would say this. Let me be cautious. I was gonna say, but they were brutal. I was gonna say they're like the most brutal zombies I've ever seen because, whereas like 28 days later, no, I love that. No, I love the infected. Those people are just savagely beating people. It's like they're not really eating people. Yeah, they take bites out of people, but it's more to inflict pain. Where and that eating people, you never,
Mm.
um, these people were like savagely attacking them while ripping off limbs and biting and smashing them against trees and rubbing their face against the bark. Like
Yeah.
it was brutal.
One holding their head while the other one's chewing the neck apart, ripping the fucking head off. Yeah, I mean, that was easily. Rogue's in here saying it as well. The first shot of the burn one was great. Sal saying, but the burn ones were much more scary than Walking
Yes.
Dead. I think that's the highlight of the movie. So Samara Weaving is very, very good.
Mhm.
But let's just jump into this. As soon as I realized, because I didn't know going into it, as soon as I realized, like, oh, she's not going to talk. No one's going to talk this whole movie. It's the type of thing that instantly I'm like, oh fuck. I mean, that sucks. I want her to talk. You know,
Yeah,
she's very charming. She still pulls it off. She still
yeah.
gave a good performance, and you get the charm from her and everything you kind of want. But a lot of times, like you'll hear that and you're like, oh shit. And then by the end of the movie, they win you over. You're like, oh, I see why they did it. They made it worth it. And it's like, okay, you didn't need to talk in this movie. By the end of this, where I was just like, no, that made this movie worse. And I don't really see why they did it. Like at
It
times I
could
was like frustrated by it. Like, God damn it, say something. Like,
no, yeah, they could have been. It could have been anybody kind of doing this. Samara even gave a great performance, though. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
Especially, it reminded me of the one we covered last year is no one will save you with
yep,
the alien invasion one.
yep.
I feel like old girl in that probably did. I don't know. Maybe that I don't. There's something about I don't know. There's something
Wait,
about that movie that I kind of liked
here's
with the no dialogue.
yeah, here's my thought on well, this might be outside the no dialogue thing. I can see kind of in my head the movie that Samara Weaving signed up to make.
Right.
I think she did everything that she needed to do. I don't think there was enough in the script and in the direction to
Yes.
like sustain a connection with her. There's
Mhm.
moments like the movie starts out and it's just her and her boyfriend, and there's all this lore. There's all this lore being built up. It's like, okay, this is after the rapture. They've got these cross-shaped scars on their throats. So they've done this to themselves, or
Mhm.
somebody's done it to them where they've taken out their voice boxes, and we get this little bit of writing that says something the about the sins of speech. There's something to this is to pay for their sins of speech in the past. So it almost you think she's volunteered to do this. But
Yeah.
her boyfriend dies. There's like these other people out there that we don't know. Did they used to belong to this group, some religious group, and they escaped from them? Like, I don't know. There's
Yeah.
a shitload of lore that I'm like, this is awesome. The boyfriend gets killed and she's out for revenge and running for her life, but it just didn't sustain that like revenge aspect, or they didn't like build on the lore like throughout it where you're really picking up like were you able to really tell like what the fuck was going on?
So what I gathered from it was like this, and this was something that I wasn't answered. So initially, I thought like this was a whole world where no one was speaking anymore.
Yeah,
In penance of like this is what just everyone did, and but it was a scene where she gets picked up by that dude in the truck, where I was like, oh, so this she's just part of some religious sect or people in the world where they're like,
right.
we're so I was that to me implied that she was part of a cult,
It doesn't
and
even seem like he's not even super aware of her in this cult. Like it
yeah.
almost him like why he's like why the fuck don't you
He was
talk?
confused.
Yeah,
That's what, yeah. So to me, that implied like there's still other people out here who are doing the normal. There's some people who've kind of. It reminded me of if you should if you've never seen it, check out the series called The Leftovers. It's not a horror, but it's
mhm,
like sci-fi. It's by Damon Lindelof, but it's 3 seasons. But it's like the premise is how people respond. Like what if the rapture happened in the real world? Like how the people who were left here, the
hmm,
real world, proceed with something
right.
like that.
That's cool. That's an interesting idea. Yeah.
Um, but that to me just kind of, and there's a lot of weird religious cults in this show. That's what kind of made me think like this is just a weird religious deep sect of people that were like, oh, this is how we're gonna atone for to get to to
Right.
the right place. We're
Did you
not gonna
notice
speak
that
it.
there's all those paintings like in their church? There's all these paintings that are kind of like it's kind of like Midsummer, where if you look at
Mm,
the paintings, you can tell the story of the past or maybe even things that are going to come. And there's like a group of people, and then there's someone in white in front of them, and out of their mouth is pouring all these demons. So it's
mm,
like, and if you think about it, like most of my sins, right? I'm not out there raping and killing, but I'll talk some shit. Like most of our sins are probably coming from just shit that we said that we shouldn't have said. So
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
And maybe whatever they said led to the rapture or
something that
whatever the event that took place is. But it's also something a lot of people said about A Quiet Place. People were like, "Oh, this is some kind of conservative messaging," like saying it was. People were at the time saying A Quiet Place was some statement about the left trying to silence conservative voices, and Krasinski said that wasn't the case. But I almost wonder if maybe that there is something to be said to that in this, where there's this like religious like sect that is trying to silence people from being able to speak
Speak that.
and things like
I
that.
can see
I don't know, but there's probably something. There's no way that the people that made this movie didn't realize the coincidences, the similarities that it had with A Quiet Place, and
yeah.
also didn't realize that the way that that movie was criticized or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, yeah. I didn't really look at it like that, but I could definitely see elements of that in here. I don't know, this movie, this is not I wasn't engaged, but I gotta agree with you. Like, there's something of it's like once you get to a certain point in the film, it's like by the time she's kind of come back to get revenge, I'm kind of like I don't
Yep.
want to say I was checked out,
Yeah.
but
I'm right
I was
there
like,
with you though. Wherever you check to is where I was at. And
it's like
that's the moment too.
yeah. It's like, did you spent your whole time trying to get away from these people, and it's like, why go back and try to put yourself in this? But somehow she didn't. But it was interesting. But
Mhm.
oh, it's just certain. Like I was really curious. I wanted them to explore more. I guess I don't know. Him introduce the director, filmmaker introducing the plot line of like, hey, there's regular people out here, and not really
Yeah.
going anywhere with it kind of irritated me because I thought that was probably one of the more interesting bits, to be
It
honest.
was almost like he was halfway assuming that there's gonna be enough interest that he's gonna get a sequel. Because
Right.
even the way that it ends, I mean, it could go a lot of different places. We'll touch on it in a minute,
I love
but
that.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't. I'm curious. Like I said, it's got 4 skulls. I meant to read some reviews on Shudder to see what people are saying, but it doesn't take a lot to get those 4 skulls on Shudder. If it's just a passable movie, it usually if it's a bad movie, it gets 3 skulls. If it's a good, decent movie, it gets 4, and if it's actually good, it gets 5.
Is this the director's like first big film or like
What
film?
this was the E.L. Katz one, right? They
Yeah.
hadn't done much. They'd done a few things, nothing I had heard of in this one. There
I
wasn't enough for me to remember his background, to be honest with you.
if it's a first film, like I can respect it's a first time effort. But like there's it's visually, it's a great visually,
Totally.
like
I thought the
so.
woods looked great. Like the look of the
Yeah.
woods, the look of like even like the people's camp, and it was just
Mhm.
tents and shit, but there's something about it. It did look cool. They sucked. That was a big downside of it. The people that were like the antagonists, that cult, there was nothing. There's some old lady that maybe we're supposed to give a shit about. They seem to have feelings. The whole thing was maybe to take care of this old lady. Did you get that at all?
I didn't. You know what? I watched this movie last night again, and I didn't get that. Because there's a few like I know what you're talking about. There's a few shots in this movie where it's cut into them going to this tent where this old lady's
Yeah.
laying, and then they're just like petting.
Yeah,
Where
they're rubbing her face and shit.
and it makes we that's never like that never goes anywhere. I'm assuming she dies in the end when Samara Weaving destroys the camp and sets
Right.
everything alight. Uh,
Yeah.
what do you think about the boyfriend? Did you think he would? Even though he wasn't in it much, did you
Right.
think he had more of a presence than the rest of the people chasing her?
I mean, we don't get much from him. I thought
Right.
they looked good together, but my biggest issue with him in the movie was her reaction to him dying. She loses him. He gets kidnapped. They're separated. That's like the first chunk of the movie, and that's the best bit. Like
Mhm.
45 minutes in, there's always something happening that's pretty cool. First 15 minutes, I wrote down my notes. Another great opening. I was like,
Yeah.
"Fuck
Yeah.
yeah, we got another banger coming. Let's
Straight.
go." But when he dies, she doesn't even like while it's going on, she's freaking out. Then she's getting chased by a zombie demon. She hangs it, and then she just kind of glances at the boyfriend and like walks away. Where was the big moment where your only person that you have in the world, the love of your life, is dead? There was no moment. That was super
Yeah.
weird. And that could have been the thing that sent us forward. That was something I wrote down in my notes, and I hate even saying stuff. It's like, well, I don't know how they would have done it, but here's like the vibe that I get is that we needed more time where we were like inside Samara Weaving's head and really feeling what she felt to carry us to where we give a shit about the end. Because if not, it's just like, what are we doing? We're a one man army. Rambo's going in and is going to kill these. It's just like really unoriginal by the end of it, and you don't care too much.
That you
The
should
pregnant
you
man was kind of interesting though. Did you notice him?
the pregnant man?
I finally got to use the pregnant man emoji on my phone. No, the woman that is pregnant with these big
Oh,
bushy eyebrows, and I'm like, is that her? But
yeah.
it's not. I'm pretty sure it was a woman. But she sure as shit looked like a man to me, a pregnant man.
I no, I think I agree with you. Like the boyfriend's death should have been like that should have been the catalyst where she's kind of like, all right, I'm fed up with this. I'm gonna get my revenge. But that's not the case, you know. I
Yeah.
think she run away again and gets caught again. And that, after that is when she's like, all right, I'm gonna, now I'm gonna get my revenge.
What did you
But
think of his performance though? Like what you were asking me about. Did you feel it didn't fit or what were you saying about it?
the boyfriend,
Yeah.
uh, no, I asked because I kind of felt like they were like them together at the beginning was really cool, but
Mhm.
I was gonna say both established actors. Samara Weaving is obviously more established actor, but the boyfriend, he's a British dude or actor, but I've seen in a lot of more British things. But he's been in some things I've seen that were really cool. This show called The Misfits, which was like
Hmm.
it was like the X-Men in a sense, and not them fighting evil, but just teenagers with powers and hormones, and it actually has a lot of sex in it.
Hmm.
Um, they're like this was like came out like 2009,
Okay.
so I was like 21. Then he's in the show called Utopia, which was actually really good. I think it either had one or two seasons, and they didn't continue it, and then they remade it in the states around like 2020. John Cusack was in it, Rainn Wilson from the
Hmm.
Dwight from The Office. Had a
Yeah.
good cast, and it was on Amazon, and it only ran for like one season before it got canceled. Which it was actually that one was actually good too. But
Nathan Stewart Jarrett is his name. He
the
does
dude,
look familiar. Oh, he's in Candyman. He's in the Candyman remake, I
okay,
think.
I did see that on this film. Okay, I gotta check. I still haven't seen that. I'm gonna
He
watch that today. Because
he he plays a sassy man in that one.
really,
Yeah,
really, he's
British
okay.
actor. Yeah, he's not British in that either. All these sneaky fucking Brits. You never know, man. You never know.
But I was kind of shocked to see him. So that's why I was like, okay, that's cool. They got him in here. But beyond that, like, yeah, the whole camp interactions, never really cared about. There's just
Mhm.
certain like, I don't know. I don't know what was going on because it's like there's no dialogue. So it's like when these people interact with each other, what am I supposed to be getting from this? Like, because there's certain
Yeah.
moments where it's like the antagonists are looking at each other when they're at the camp, and it's like obviously it's supposed to convey an emotional attachment or something, and it's like
Mhm.
what
You're
it's
not
just
getting shit. You
no,
remember
yeah,
when she cuts the one guy's head off? It was like this pretty cool scene where they paste it out. She runs up, she cuts the dude's head off, and in a movie that was better written, you would have known who that guy was. He would have been henchman that you recognized and you noticed, and it's like, oh, that guy almost got you a few times, and now you got him. But there was
yes,
there was none of that. They didn't build those people up at all, the least bit. What we got from Rogue just saying if you can't whistle, you're shit out of luck. Yeah. Yeah, they communicate by whistling in this one. So, okay, we one thing we can infer, this cult, the bad guys in the movie, they're kind of like the people in Rosemary's Baby, it seems like, where their goal has been to bring about the birth of the devil. So
yeah,
there's all it's cool. There's all these cool things. It's like they didn't know how to just give us more so we could really tell, like just cling on to the story and know
yeah,
what's going on without needing a sequel. So she ends up killing no, the mother of this pregnant man with the fucking bushy eyebrows. He gives birth to the devil at the end of the movie. Then she looks at it, instantly kills,
really cool looking.
yeah, kills herself. Dope. Yeah, the devil, this fucking freaky ass goat. Samara Weaving grabs this goat, and then it's the exact same ending of Midsummer and the Witch, where you have this female character, and there's this slight smile on her face, and now we don't know. We don't know what her intention is. Is she gonna kill this devil? She gonna kill this baby? That my
Right.
first initial read was what I got, or that's what I got. It's like, oh, she's about to snap the neck of this devil baby, or is she got now? Has she been influenced by it and she's now controlled by it? Is she gonna use it to do things? You know what I mean? Is she gonna use it in the way that this cult was gonna use it? I kind of like that. It was pretty cool, but I don't know. There's not enough in the rest of the movie to make it really fucking hit. But what do you think of it? The end.
I don't
It
know.
was
You got me
kind of cute,
thinking.
Rogue says.
Yeah, cute
It
little.
was a little bit cute.
Yeah.
Sal says, I thought we were going to get Kill Bill a moment when she was buried alive.
Oh yeah. Yo, when she bust, I thought they were gonna have her bust out the ground a little bit more. Some pizzazz, but it was cool.
Yeah.
Um, the ending, I thought I don't know. I'm assuming by the smile, like she's gonna raise, but it made me ask, like, who's the true villain? Like, but
Yeah.
because okay, the mom. or the lady who birthed the Antichrist slit her throat, like clearly because she was in shock. Like, so I felt like that was a religious cult that was trying to be, obviously they're more godlike, I guess.
Right, like, maybe they weren't trying to bring back the devil, that
Yeah.
wasn't their goal, but that's what happened, and once she realized what she'd done, she killed herself, yeah. I didn't
Yes.
think of it like that, but that's a probably right.
And maybe like Samara, like in this religious cult, Samara Weaving was a sinner or like a true sinner. That's why it's like she was going to be sacrificed. It's like we sacrifice our sinners because you're
Hmm,
not living, by God's word or whatever. But now that the roles have been reversed, now that she's got the power, I don't know. I could have, that smile, bro. If she hadn't given the smile, I wouldn't think there could be some ulterior motive where she's like, you know what? Nah, I
right.
see what I can do with this. Now I've got the power. Um, yeah, I don't know, because it's like she's got a whole army of the burned ones
Right,
at
and
her,
this
you know.
that's what Rogue is saying, yeah, better to have some control over the zombies than just running forever, I guess. Right, but you're using the devil. Really, it's one of the best bits of it is
Yeah,
that and like, I think the 3rd act sucks, but that ending is good.
the
There
ending.
is the makings of a fucking banger movie
Yeah,
here. I'll say one thing just that I was thinking, don't you feel like, for me, The Walking Dead has ruined post-apocalyptic, in the woods, rugged, kind of grounded zombie movies or just anything like that. Before The Walking Dead, I loved post-apocalyptic. I was always down. Sign me up for anything post-apocalyptic or anything, just like Lost, anything where you and Lost is equally as responsible for the boom of all this, where you take out society and all of a sudden everybody gets tribal and shit, which
mhm.
is I don't know, but yeah, you can't watch this without thinking of The Walking Dead and having some kind of most people are going to have some kind of negativity in their head because of that.
No, that's true. Yeah, and it's crazy and it's like Walking Dead. The show has ended, but it's like it still hasn't ended because all these spin-offs. Like that's a
Mhm.
friend. They really have overset. I was the same way. That used to be my shit, bro. Put something in a post-apocalyptic, or it's like it's people not in the everyday society, and they
Yeah,
start getting savage and tribal, like you said. Like that was my shit, but now it's like become like it's a
yeah.
thing. I don't know. They
It really
commercial.
does suck. It really you can't just blame that one property. Like
Yeah,
Walking Dead just not that they overdid it. They did what they were supposed to do, but there's no change of setting. It's
you're right.
every
You're right.
season you're in the woods, you're doing the same shit. Everybody's dressed like they're dressed in this movie more or less.
Yeah.
It's the same shit.
But the ending. I will say the ending kind of saved it because, like you said, it kind of like that's where my interest piqued. I was like, okay, where are we going with this? Like maybe I was viewing this movie through a different. I kind of viewed it as more the second watch. I was kind of she still is not the bad guy to me, but I was trying to
Mhm.
view it as like maybe she did something to these or maybe she's it's reminding me, a lot of shit reminded me of Strange Darling, but the whole chase aspect, like, in Strange Darling, there's a flip of the head. It would not saying too much, but it's like, who's really being chased? Are they really are they really the victim, or maybe they deserve to be
Right.
chased?
They certainly looked like assholes, but yeah,
Yeah.
you really don't know. Dude, I never do this, but just for fun, because I meant to let me before we rate it. I just want to look because I see it still has 4 skulls on Shudder for what that's worth. So and this is the way that Shudder does it. You click on it, and you're gonna get the last review that's on there. So I'm just gonna read some of them for fun. So 5 skulls, loved it. Right, that's the first one. 5 skulls, the second one. This is what A Quiet Place would have been if it was a good movie. So that guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Next one,
Yeah.
2 skulls was pretty clueless as to what was going on the whole movie. Ending was cool. That's about it. 5 skulls, great visual storytelling. While I'm not the biggest fan of religious horror, this was well done. Let me find a bad one. 1 skull. Why would anyone name their child after one of the most evil fallen angels there is? Is this trying to create sympathy for a devil? That brings up a good point. Like Azrael it's from the Islamic religion where Azrael was the angel of death in Islam. So I don't know how that ties in. And that is kind of important too, because that doesn't sound like a good person. That sounds like
Yeah.
you're the antagonist in your story. So
Yeah.
Samara Weaving, and that is they never call her Azrael throughout the whole thing, but when you look at the credits, she is Azrael.
Named
So
Azrael.
is she the villain? Has this whole thing, has her goal always been to bring about the devil? And you know what I mean? What did she do to get kicked out? Did she impregnate
Right.
this man with the devil? Maybe.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That's a good point. You know, the name there alone, I think there's a connection that maybe that she was the true villain and she got what she wanted at the like she maybe she was trying to bring about the apocalypse, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's wild.
Ah, it's an interesting movie. Yeah,
It
I
is.
will say, like for no dialogue, there's a lot. Like you said, they do a lot to set up the lore. I wish they could have explored it a little bit more,
Yeah. They
but
had
they,
dude, they had a lot of potential. It does feel like
yeah,
someone's, you know, early movie. Like if this is,
yes.
someone a little bit more seasoned could have pulled off everything this guy's trying to do.
Dang, this is a divide. I will say, I feel like the people gave it the low scores. They're maybe not getting. It's kind of feel like some of that shit is going over their head. Like if you're not,
Right.
if you don't know about the rapture or anything like that, then this kind of,
Right.
might
It is kind
resonate.
of weird how I assume those were all Bible verses, but like every 15 minutes,
They cut to a chip.
we get
Yep.
another one that's to kind of foreshadowing what's coming up or kind of highlights what just happened. Dun dun dun. Rogue saying felt like both these last two films could have been better short films. That's interesting because I thought the
Absolutely.
same thing. They would have been perfect short films. Don't move. I could totally see that being like, short film material. Rogue also saying,
Man, yeah. Take
I
out.
like and don't like that it doesn't explain everything exactly.
No,
But
true. Yeah, that
there's
like
something to be
that's
said for that, but you should be able to piece more of it together. And maybe you could, maybe on a fifth watch, but you and I both watched this thing twice. And
right.
I'm sitting there looking at those paintings and I'm trying to put shit together. There's just not enough for me. But anyway, let's go ahead and just your final thoughts, whatever the fuck you were just about to say, and let's rate
Oh
this bad boy.
no, I was gonna say there is some fun in that Rogue. I agree. I do like putting stuff together, like you said. With the whole when I like when she met the dude in the truck, I was like, oh, so there are people. Like, there is fun in that, but like at the same
Right.
time, I don't
We
think
should have got a
they
little more. Give us
a little bit, yeah, a little bit of
I was saying, and this is something we didn't mention. There was some prophecy with those paintings on the wall. Samara's blonde head in the middle of a bunch of burning figures. So that
I
is
didn't peep
true.
that.
Yeah, there's like this pool, there's all these demons, and then her blonde head in the middle. So she is part of their prophecy. Like that's why she was being
Ah,
sacrificed or singled out or something. I don't know.
because they
The more I talk about it, my score is going up, but not as much as it could because
yes,
of all
yeah,
the
no, I was
things
gonna
that
say
weren't there.
there's something there. No, that's a good question because, like I said, maybe she was. That was they were trying to sacrifice her because she was trying to bring about the apocalypse. Damn it, man.
She had some weird prophetic moment when the burn one touched her underground. When it gets up in
Oh,
her face and it's like and she's like which I thought was kind of funny.
that reminds me of the descent were crawling over Old
Yeah,
Grow.
yeah. They did look
Um,
like the Descent monsters, but even better. And the Descent are
yes,
some of the dopest looking monsters. But all right,
I was
good.
really impressed with it.
Let's rate this
I
shit.
was
Kids
the
looking
more we
at
talk.
you out there.
I think this is just because it has no dialogue. This is gonna be a very divisive movie. Like it's not gonna be everyone's cup of tea, but I think people who like to put things together, you will have a good time with this. It doesn't lay everything out, but I do think this is a good time, and I applaud it as a like a really. If he hasn't really done much, this is like his their first big thing. The director, um,
Mhm.
visually beautiful, like some great shots. Like you said, the wood, how everything feels, like it's gotta applaud that.
Totally.
Great performance with no dialogue. I gotta keep in account. There's no dialogue, and that's hard. This could easily be so much. You know, it could be so much shit. It could be shit, complete shit. This
Totally.
film is entertaining. I will give this a solid, man, 3.75 with room to grow. I want to give it a 4,
Ooh.
but because no, no, fuck it. I will give it a 4 with room to
I
grow.
love it, man.
No, there's a lot here. Um, I was, I was entertained by it. As many questions as I had. I was still entertained, but towards the end, I was kind of. It's weird because it's like towards the end, I was kind of checked out. But then by the time we get to the very end, like when she's attacking the
Yeah,
camp, I'm like, okay, shit. But then the goat reveal, I'm like,
right.
okay.
And
You know,
it's a
this,
really short time that I think you and we both checked out at the same moment. And
yeah,
it is
yeah,
short-lived. It's just like, okay, whatever. We gotta get through this generic ass action scene
yes.
to get to the end is pretty much what it is. But, the bits leading up to that, like, I noticed it on my second watch more, like, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, no, it's not that slow for a movie that they're not talking." There's always something coming around the corner. There's just they missed the mark here and there.
You know, just highlight a better, you know, it's a good action scene because there were some good moments. Like towards the end, it was just generic, but I like the one where the truck driver gets shot, and then she
Yeah.
has fights out the dude. You know, she has that
Oh,
whole struggle.
that was kind of wasn't that no, it was cool. It was one of the more badass moments of the movie. Did that not feel like it was part of a different movie?
It did. It
Like,
did. It
what? Like,
did.
where does that scene come from where there's, like, some music playing, which is I guess that's part of it. That guy is from a different, like, world. The guy driving the
Mhm.
truck, he's showing her music for the first time, and out of nowhere, for, like, 5 minutes, the movie becomes Encino Man 3, starring Samara Weaving, right? Where all of a sudden she's like, "Ooh, ooh," she's fucking Jane, monkey don't talk well.
Domino.
It's like, yeah, it's like, what? It's so fucking weird. But when that music kicks in and it cranks up, and it's like the direction gets strange. They keep on doing these weird edits, and it's cool, but it's like that
It
is not
was
the same movie we've been watching for 40
it
minutes.
seemed like it became a stylish action movie at that point where
Yeah,
you know, it was like a horror survivor thriller. There's suspenseful moments, but that scene in particular seemed like it was like almost like some John Wick, not
yeah,
John Wick,
yeah.
but
Well, something like that. I was
yes.
gonna say Bullet Train, or
Yeah,
like
no, yes, Bullet Train.
they
Yep.
were doing this weird thing where like they would kind of, Samara Weaving's laying on the ground and they kind of zoom in on her jacket and then they cut and they move her over and they zoom out. And it was, I don't know, I noticed it was just
The
like this
camera.
strange, cool cut editing thing that they were doing where it's like subtle. There was no
Yeah,
real reason to do it other than like, oh, that creates a cool effect. But that combined with the music out of
the music.
nowhere, it was like so weird. But it was one of the more entertaining parts of the movie. So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, what are you gonna do? But real quick, because we've brought him up a few times, he directed E.L. Katz is the dude's name with a K and a Z at the end. He directed his first film, Cheap Thrills, from 2013. It's got a pretty decent rating. He did a segment in the ABCs of Death Part 2, which is a horror anthology. He did Small Crimes in 2017, 7 years ago. So it's been 7 years
This
since
is
his last film. So this is his
okay.
third feature length film plus a short.
Okay.
So an, a guy, it's fucked up when I looked at it. It's like, oh my god, this guy's our age. He was born in 1981, but he looks like he's 50 years old. Stop it, EL Cats, stop it. But all right, you gave it a 3.75. I'm gonna give it a 3 still, man, because I think it's still there's a shitload there, but it just wasn't enough. That's part of the problem. I almost want to bump it up because of the potential, but I almost want to
Right.
bump it down because of the potential. Like this could have been like a great, great movie. Maybe I don't know. You giving it a 4 makes me want to fucking bump mine up.
You
Maybe
know, 2.75 is fair. I was that I know I'm backtracking, but I don't know. It's hard for me to really because it's like I respect the effort, but I think that okay. So the effort is a 4, but the
right,
overall product I would say is a 3.75. You know.
right. I'll go 3, but you know what? You bump down a quarter, I'll bump up a quarter. I'll go 3.25 because there was and it was mercifully short, and I always
Yeah.
fucking love that.
Yeah.
Uh Rogue saying, just rating the ones we did today. Azrael, this was his favorite, then Don't Move, then Trap. I would say Don't Move just a little bit above Azrael and then Trap for me, but I really did enjoy all three of them. I think most like horror fans like us that are watching a lot of shit are gonna get something
Can
out
have.
of all three of these.
Oh yeah.
What's your ranking then? I think we know.
You know, damn it, because it's like I gave don't move. I like them for different reasons. Damn it, shit.
Yeah.
I think the overall I respect what they're going for and don't or not don't move. I in Azure I respect what they're going for. I think the overall more cohesive product is probably don't
Right.
move.
The harder one to pull off was Azrael for sure.
Yeah, and it's you know it's a little bit safer. The other two films, Azrael's a little bit more experimental.
Mhm.
Um, so I would say in turn, I had a more fun time with Azrael. I would say Azrael don't move than Trap.
Nice.
But just Azrael and don't move are right there with each other for me. in turn for different reasons. Like
Right.
I think the overall better product is Don't Move. Like I think more people would enjoy that. But I,
Right.
personally, I respect that they're trying to do.
Azrael gets the difficulty points. I mean,
Yes,
like we
yes,
said,
yeah,
dude's third film. You're making a movie without dialogue. Like,
yeah.
good luck. It's gonna be fucking tricky. I like this that Sal says too. He thought it was interesting that these people didn't actually experience the rapture. It's like 200. We're just guessing how long after, but it says very long after the rapture. So you've got time
Wow,
for a whole like cultural norms to be
the shift and
renewed.
change.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
shift to be renewed. Rogue saying Azrael and Don't Move are pretty even for me. Azrael might get the slight edge just because
I
it's
feel that.
fun for me to try and piece it all together. I do too. It reminds me of a movie that really is doing a super similar thing now that I think about it, is It Comes at Night. It Comes at Night
Ooh,
is doing a lot of the same things. We're in this post-apocalyptic world. We don't know exactly how we got here. We don't know how long it's been. Like a lot of these things
right.
are similar, but it's a little bit more concrete in that one. I mean, that one, that's a great movie. But hell yeah, man. A 3.25 from me, a 3.75 from the Missing Link. And we appreciate the shit out of you guys in the chat. Rogue, motherfucking Sal. Where are we at? Where are we at? What do I have?
Thanks, fellas.
Boom. All right, I got a bunch of stuff on here that we don't need, but what we do need is that right there. Fucking Halloween 2. We're gonna do it. Last year
I'm ready.
we ended Halloween. We ended Horror Fest last year covering Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. So I didn't want to get too distant in the future before we knock out Halloween 2. I haven't seen this in a minute, but I do remember, I'll just say, I remember the last time I watched it being like, yeah, I don't need to ever watch that one again. I'm fucking done. I'm done with this
Yeah,
movie. So
yeah. The first time I watched that, because I remember like thinking it was gonna be a banger because people kind of the commercial reception. The first one was good. Rob Zombie, and
mhm.
this one I remember like okay, and people weren't really on the same thing. It was more divisive.
Right.
And so when I was like, that wasn't, that was cool. But when I saw it last time, I was like, I didn't hate it, but I was like, it didn't really do anything, didn't add anything. I could
Right.
have just leave it at the
There's so
first one.
much weird shit about it. I mean, I honestly forget. I remember the opening scene. I remember being like, "Oh, this is badass." The opening
Yeah,
bit at the hospital, super badass. Then all the weird shit with Rob Zombie's wife. But a lot of it, I kind of forget how it goes down. But yes, we will. Whenever Strange Darling hits streaming, we will 100% do it. Hopefully, it comes out and we can do it in December. So
please
we've
release it
reviewed
soon.
it before the end of 2024 and appreciate it, of course, Rogue. Appreciate you, brother. I highly recommend it. It comes at night. I think it's on Max. That's where I watched it a few
Absolutely.
months ago. But hell yeah, man. I appreciate the shit out of all you people. And again, not next Sunday, but 2 Sundays from now, we'll be doing another 2024 double feature. So if you guys watching on the comments below or in the fucking rewatch, put it in the comments if there's something you want to see us cover. Clearly, Rogue wants us to do Strange Darling. We got you. We got you. But if there's something for 2024 we haven't done and you want us to do, make sure you let us know in the comments below. And we're going to get up out this bitch and we'll see you Thursday for Halloween 2.